All right, everyone. Carrie Lake is still in politics. Link in the description, archived, of course. Of course, she oversees the Voice of America through her particular role in the administration. And Carrie Lake tried to fire Abramowitz, the head of Voice of America. Now, Voice of America, ostensibly, at least on paper, is supposed to be sort of promoting American values in especially other countries. It's sort of like one of those like shortwave propaganda broadcast sort of things. That's the whole point. Unfortunately, the Biden administration decided to make it a political tool and staff it with people with Trump derangement syndrome that would uncritically report on, the Russiagate bullshit and Pissgate and all of these other things. And so Trump decided to get rid of Abramowitz. I don't know. Tried to get rid of her, but a judge has ruled against him and said, well, you can't fire her. That requires the board to do the firing. The problem is you already fired the board. And so Trump and Carrie Lake accidentally jumped the gun and they fired the board that would have to remove her first. Now, this is necessary, but I think it was originally unintentional. It works out well in the end, though. The judge said, well, I mean, there's a clear remedy. You just hire a new board and then you can do the firing. And so that's presumptively what Trump and Lake are going to do. I have a feeling it was the result of a whoopsie whoopsie at first, and they didn't realize that they were going to have to establish board quorum in order to actually remove the acting VOA director. So now you've got this like the gray area where it's like you can't fire this person because the people required to fire them, they're simply not there because you already fired them. It's a very, very funny case. They will, in the end, I believe, prevail in removing the Bramowitz, the director there, and hopefully then you can get some reform at Voice of America. It's sort of like when the judges are like blocking them from reducing funding to or divesting in or attempting to reform like PBS, NPR, all of these sort of, post-liberal sort of experiments that the United States has engaged in. It's interesting how courts over and over again are repeatedly obsessed with trying to block anything that Trump does. And it's almost always an Obama appointee, I will note. In this particular case, it actually makes sense. The decision actually is the right one. This may be something some people say, no, you should just ignore the decision. He can't. You need the board to establish quorum in order to actually oust the director. But Trump can hire whoever he wants. So now he's going to hire people for Voice of America that will represent the broader ideology that he has in mind. And even if she were not successfully ousted, at that point, it wouldn't even matter because the board would be stacked with people loyal to Trump, loyal especially because he gave them a nice cushy job where they don't have to do too much. And they just come in and cock block anything the director decided to do and say, look, well, we can still oust you, hold it over her head, so to speak. So either way, Trump effectively gets his way when you really think about it. But it is a strange case. It's not entirely clear whether it was accidental that they removed the board that they would need. It might have been on purpose, like they purge the board and then they bring the suit forward. Suit plays out and then they restack the board. That's probably what happened. So I think it was strategic, but there's always the chance that it wasn't, which would be absolutely hysterical. And stranger things have happened within modern politics too. It's a new thing every single day. Basic bitch mistakes are made all the time. Look at Elizabeth Warren's dream team, meme team, or Beto O'Rourke with his skateboard. Those things went along swimmingly. Ted Cruz with his butter cow statue. That was a very, very interesting one there. Again, it happens. Politics has gone off the rails. Thought I had seen it all back in the 2000s. Things have gotten stranger and stranger since then, other than the relatively boring doldrum days, actually, from basically 2010 to 2014 or thereabouts. There was, well, 2015. There's like nothing going on. It was just the most boring period in recent U.S. history. Probably because we had the Great Recession going on, so, there's not a whole lot going on. Growth was rather slow in those days. So while I support Carrie Lake, and I still believe And this is something that Trump did that I wasn't pleased about. He should have made Carrie Lake the official person to go to for the press in the White House. She should have been sort of the face of their responses to the press in some role. It doesn't have to be White House spokesperson or something like that, but getting her into such a role would have, I thought, been a very good idea. She's a very good communicator. She was a journalist for a long time. Rage quit the legacy media specifically because it wasn't doing journalism anymore. She runs rings around people in the rhetorical sense. Having her as White House press secretary would be, it would be magical, actually. Although the current press secretary, she's doing a good job. I just think that Carrie Lake would have had, been valedictorian of the press secretary class, so to speak. Very well spoken. So it would have been very, very funny to see her respond to some of those whack-ass questions from the press that you see on a day-to-day basis. And this is a strange legal case, but not because I mean, the basis of it is actually legally acceptable. It is the right decision. You do have to have quorum to do these sorts of things. No, my question is simply, did they fire the board not knowing that they would need to establish quorum? Because they could have just leaned on the current board members and said, look, we're ousting the VOA as director. You can either cooperate or you can lose your jobs. And that didn't, they just inexplicably fired them anyway, apparently without that sort of consultation. It's like, all right, I guess that he just wanted to burn any remnant of the Biden administration's days of malevolence, ineptitude, and inefficiency. Probably not the worst idea in the world, considering how absolutely blindsidedly goofy the Biden administration was in both hiring practices and public policy. For several years, we didn't really have a singular leader in the United States. We slipped into oligarchism at the executive level. That's about all. Peace out.